Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. Well, what a day it has been, right? Most of us woke up to Bitcoin being at 20,000. Yes, 20,000. And this morning there was so much excitement. We all felt like we were vindicated, right? Those of us that's been holding for so long, we are right? So it was definitely a good feeling today, but that didn't stop. That didn't stop at all because I said it was just the beginning, and it is just the beginning because Bitcoin has climbed up, and not too long ago it was above 22,000. Now it's settled down a little bit, 21,800 something, but still, it's on its way up. And this is really the beginning. And there is so much that is coming, right? I think you guys know it. I think you guys could feel it. Definitely different than 2017. Obviously, the biggest reason why it's different is because Bitcoin formed a new all-time high. It topped the previous high. And right now, what you're hearing from some of the most influential people on earth when it comes to money, they are not shy to talk about Bitcoin. That is the biggest difference. Even in 2017, right, when Bitcoin was flying high, it was kind of taboo still. People were afraid to talk about it. Besides just a few people on CNBC, no one respectable was really talking about it because they just didn't believe in it. They didn't believe it. They didn't have any reason to buy. But now it's a total 180. The biggest names from Wall Street, from finance, economic professors, you name it. Okay, some of the oldest institutions out there is now buying Bitcoin, turning to Bitcoin. It is now like, I don't know, the new fad among institutions, right? And just this afternoon, I think you say Guggenheim Investments. They are absolutely huge with over 230 billions in assets. Okay, 235 billion. That's the last number I read. But even if it's off by a few billion, what's a few billion between friends, right? But they have just shocked the world during an interview with Bloomberg. They shocked the world by saying, we believe that Bitcoin is worth $400,000. This is coming from the CIO. Remember, BlackRock's CIO kind of shocked the world not too long ago, a few weeks ago, saying that he believes gold will be displaced in a large part by Bitcoin. That was pretty bullish already. Now we're getting an actual dollar figure from the CIO of Guggenheim saying that Bitcoin, according to their calculations, is actually worth $400,000. So even at 22,000, that we're still talking about almost 20x from here, right? That is pretty shocking. So I definitely want to talk about that and also talk about other things because since this morning, there were more developments that happened. Like one by one, every single institution is coming to Bitcoin. This is what I said. And they're not coming to Bitcoin because they're looking for it to go to the moon. No, they're doing it because they're really, 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 really afraid of what the Fed and the governments are doing with their endless printing. This is the real reason why they're afraid. They don't want to see their buying power decrease by 15% every year. They don't want to see their value, their cash, go to waste. And they rather put it into digital gold that is better than gold. That's what's happening right now, guys. And this is one of the dreams of Satoshi Nakamoto, to disrupt the banks, to get rid of the banks, right? To try to get rid of the corruption, create something that's non-sovereign, create something that will just grow. It's a digital payment system. It's a digital bank account. It's a digital technology, and it's a network. And it's such a beautiful thing. And now it's coming it's coming full blown, right? Like it's actually getting adopted and recognized, and it's not taboo anymore. So, yeah. Aaron, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate all of you guys that's been with me for a while, right? I'm doing these live streams every day at 11 a.m. For those of you guys that don't know, those of you guys that are new to the channel, but periodically I do still have live streams at night, like today. I have invited my friend Mr. Bean with me, so I might occasionally stop to say hi and take a drink. But outside of that, business as usual. Let me go ahead and talk about what's going on within within the crypto sphere, because even since this morning, there's a lot that happened. So, hey Dion, Tesla, 11 a.m. That's that's pretty late. All right, let's get to it. Before I get started, let me show you the biggest thing that was announced this afternoon. There's a clip interview with Scott Minerd, I believe. He is the chief investment officer of Guggenheim Investments. And, you know, he was just asked casually about Bitcoin, his thoughts, you know, have they started yet? Because they're still trying to get SEC approval. And then he just shocks the announcer. I mean, the announcer's like, wow. Like, he shocks the announcer, he shocks the world in terms of why they think, or he thinks, that Bitcoin is worth $400,000, and he explains it very, very well. So take a listen to this clip first, and then let's discuss.
Scott, Guggenheim has reserved the right to invest up to 10% of its macro fund in Bitcoin. Have you guys started buying yet, and how much is this decision tied to the Fed's extraordinary policy?
Well, you know, to answer the second question, Scarlett, clearly Bitcoin and our interest in Bitcoin is tied to Fed policy and the rampant money printing that's going on. In terms of our mutual funds, you know, we are not yet effective with the SEC, so, you know, we're still waiting. Of course, we made the decision to start allocating toward Bitcoin when Bitcoin was at 10,000. It's a little more challenging with the current price closer to 20,000. Amazing, you know, over a very short period of time how big of a run-up we've had. But having said that, our fundamental work shows that Bitcoin should be worth about $400,000.
Whoa.
So, you know, we're going to, even if we had the ability to do so today, we're going to monitor the market and see how trading goes on valuation, but ultimately look to buy it.
Scott Minerd, we want to delay the Fed press conference for this comment by you. How do you frame a 400,000?
Scott, Guggenheim has reserved the right to invest up to 10% of its macro fund in Bitcoin. Have you guys started buying yet, and how much
Sorry, guys,
is this
I
decision
pressed
tied
wrong
to
button,
the Fed's
so
extraordinary
I'm
policy?
going to have to replay it again.
Well, you know, to answer the second question, Scarlett, clearly Bitcoin and our interest in Bitcoin is tied to Fed policy and the rampant money printing that's going on. In terms of our mutual funds, you know, we are not yet effective with the SEC, so, you know, we're still waiting. Of course, we made the decision to start allocating toward Bitcoin when Bitcoin was at 10,000. It's a little more challenging with the current price closer to 20,000. Amazing, you know, over a very short period of time how big of a run-up we've had. But having said that, our fundamental work shows that Bitcoin should be worth about $400,000.
Whoa.
So, you know, we're going to, even if we had the ability to do so today, we're going to monitor the market and see how trading goes on valuation, but ultimately look to buy it.
Scott Minerd, we want to delay the Fed press conference for this comment by you. How do you frame a 400,000 Bitcoin? How do you get from where we are now out to 400,000? Is it just based on scarcity?
Yeah, right, Tom. It's based on the scarcity and relative valuations, such as things like gold as a percentage of GDP. So, Bitcoin is actually has a lot of the attributes of gold, and at the same time has an unusual value in terms of transaction.
Okay, so I had to play that twice, and that's because it's by accident. But as you can see, right, pretty shocking. The host didn't expect him to say that, right? She was just basically asking, did you guys get involved yet, right? He's saying he's still waiting for the SEC for approval. They've been waiting since Bitcoin has been at 10,000. And he even said it's kind of hard, to get in above 20,000, but still, we believe that it's worth $400,000, and the host almost passed out. I mean, and then the second host is like, why do you think this, right? Are you comparing it because of scarcity and stuff? Basically, what you need to know is Bitcoin is a lot more scarce than gold, right? It's programmed to be more scarce. There is a finite supply, right? And every 4 years, the amount that gets mined decreases in half. That's why it's called a halving event, right? So this is the beauty that's built into the Bitcoin network. There's a deflationary mechanism built in with a set amount in place. That's it. There is no more. With gold, there's always more. There's always more that you can dig up, and there's asteroids flying in space that's filled with gold that can crash onto Earth and make everyone quadrillionaires. There's a lot of manipulation with gold. There's more paper forms of gold, right? Not just gold bars. And, the miners, the producers, they can do a whole lot of stuff to manipulate things, right? And gold for the last 12 years has not moved at all. It was at like 1,800 12 years ago, and it's like 1,800 now, right? So, that is why all these companies now, they're applying their metrics, how they measure gold. They're applying it to Bitcoin, and they're saying, whoa, we missed out. Bitcoin being as scarce as it is, and seeing how it's a way better technology. Gold is not technology. It's a way better technology. It's only the beginning. There's so much more that is coming to Bitcoin, right? And now everyone wants a piece. So guess what? We better buy a piece too, right? That's what's happening. I've been saying for a while, institutions are FOMOing in. And I missed someone's super chat during that. Let me scroll back really quick. Slicewood gave me two super chats. I appreciate it. Thank you. 300,000. I've said 300,000 for years. No one wants to believe that. Now we're hearing the CIO of Guggenheim Investment saying 400,000. So if you thought 300,000 was ridiculous, now you have someone that's really, really well respected within the industry, right? That is managing 230 billions in assets, is saying Bitcoin is worth 400,000. I mean, just think about that. Just take a second to think about that, right? This is not it's not Jim Cramer saying it on Mad Money, although I'm waiting to see him have a piece on Mad Money just about Bitcoin. I'm waiting for that to happen. But that's pretty big, right? And this is what I've been saying, one by one. You're having the biggest investment companies in the world, the biggest hedge funds companies of the world, the most influential, the billionaires, the self-made billionaires, the ones that people listen to, like Paul Brodeur Jones and Bill Miller and others. They're all coming out saying the same thing, right? They're all buying Bitcoin, right? So all this like short-term TA, and people are, worried about another doomsday crash and blah, 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 right? Just look at what's going on. Are these institutions buying by the hundreds of millions? Doesn't that mean something? Yes, it does. So here's another example. So a large hedge fund, One River, plans on holding and buying more, up to $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and Ethereum in 2021. So this was also released this afternoon. One River Digital Asset Management, one of the best performing hedge fund of the year, disclosed to Bloomberg. Bloomberg is doing their job recently. They already own $600 million worth of Bitcoin and expects its holdings to include which include Ethereum, to swell up to $1 billion in early 2021. You know, that's the key thing. Early 2021, not end of 2021, which means that they're going to ramp up another 400 million in the near future, within the next month or so, right? Most likely, they're going to buy sooner or later because they don't want to see Bitcoin be at like 30,000 or 40,000 before they buy more, right? So this is what I'm saying. Not everyone discloses their Bitcoin. So these companies have been buying for the past few months now, and they're not sharing. They're not all as open as MicroStrategy and Square and some of these guys. They've been secretly, but now it's like the cool thing to do, right? It's like, oh, look at me. I bought Bitcoin and now I made a whole bunch of money, so I'm really smart. That's what's happening right now. One by one, they're all disclosing that they have bought Bitcoin, which is why Bitcoin has just been going up and up and up and up. Right? All those whale-ish games that I've been talking about, how the whale's been trying to keep the level below 19.5. And every time Bitcoin went to 95, they put all the sell pressure. Guess what? They're all doomed. All those whales are doomed. All those games they tried to play using whatever Bitcoins they had and whatever leverage they had, right, to try to keep the pressure down. Guess what? All that, the money they had in Bitcoin and crypto, all that transferred to these institutions. These institutions have way more money than the whales could ever imagine, okay? And what they did is basically they tried to hold on to their power. They tried to keep things low. And guess what? All that wealth, all that Bitcoins that they had transferred directly into the pockets of some of the largest and richest companies of the world, like One River Digital, like another one I'm going to talk about, and MicroStrategy and everyone else that's just buying up by hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So it was just funny to me that the whales were trying their last attempt to hold at 19.5 as if that really meant anything, right? And then now that it popped, that's it. They're done, right? They're going to try to play more games, but as you can see in the headlines, institutions are here. They're not going to stop. They're FOMOing in. They're buying everything they can. So, you know what? The days of those whale-ish games where, you know, you suddenly just drop down like 4,000, 5,000 points because mostly they use like leverage and BitMEX and all those things, those days could be behind us. They really can, in a good way. So here's another company, another hedge fund that discloses all of a sudden they bought $600 million worth of Bitcoin and they plan on buying 400 more. And guess what? When 2021 turns, they're going to say, okay, 400 million is not enough. We're going to buy another billion and another billion and another billion. Keep in mind, these guys, right? Even though 600 million, a billion seems like a lot of money, right? It's nothing compared to how much they actually have. I just got done saying Guggenheim has 235 billion of investments, okay? 235 billion. I got done talking about Mass Mutual this whole past week, right? They purchased 100 million, but they have 230 plus billion of assets too, right? All these guys, like hundreds of billions that they hold. And they're just dabbing in. Imagine when they aren't dabbing in, they're actually switching 5, 10, 15, 20, 50% of their gold, their investments into Bitcoin, right? So 400,000 for Bitcoin is a reality. It's not far-fetched anymore. And I think as Bitcoin goes higher and higher and higher, I think at the end of this week, realistically, the way it's growing, the way FOMO is building, realistically, we could see 25,000 by the end of this week, right? Going into this weekend, we could definitely see Bitcoin be at 25,000 by Sunday. And then next week, we could see it go up to 35,000, right? And then after that, I mean, you guys get the point, right? Just it's the floodgates are open. and Bitcoin's out of the Pandora's box. There's no way to put it back anymore, and there is none. The whales have lost. They can't keep it low anymore. That's it. Just going forward, we're gonna go to the moon, basically. Here's another one. I kind of mentioned this morning, but this has now been confirmed. So, a British fund manager, Ruffer Investment Management, just came out and admitted that they bought $745 million worth of Bitcoin, right? Now, this one, they weren't so open. This actually came out, I think, during an investor call or something. They kind of admitted it. But now it has come out that they also bought like $750 million worth of Bitcoin. And they bought this in November, so it wasn't too long ago. And even that purchase had netted them a cool $300 million, over $250 million. So even that was wise, right? So here's another reason why. Not another reason. This is another reason why all these hedge funds now are coming out saying, yeah, I bought Bitcoin, because it makes them look smart, even though they might not have intended that way. But now they're all coming out and saying, yeah, I bought Bitcoin. Look at me, because now I just made 50% on my investment within a month or two, right? So now they're all looking like geniuses. And you know what? Michael Saylor, within like a few years, 3, 5, 10 or whatever, right? Michael Saylor is going to look like the biggest genius of them all. He's the one that started it. He's the one that decided to make the move to move all the reserve funds from MicroStrategy into Bitcoin. He took a big leap, but the biggest difference is he made it public. He wasn't afraid. He made it public, let people know, right? Let Wall Street know, let everyone know, and everyone questioned him about it. And then it got more questionable as he put more and more money into it, right? But now he's looking like a freaking genius, right? And I think he is a genius, because if you listen to the interview that he just conducted yesterday, which I created a video on, if you didn't listen to it, you should. This one right here, he does know what he's talking about. It's just, this is not dumb luck, right? But he kind of let the cat out of the bag, right? He really started something, and now everyone is proud to say that they have bought Bitcoin and they hold Bitcoin. It's really, really different, right? I know you guys could feel it. It's very different. All right. So looking at Grayscale, after saying all that, after all these hedge funds secretly coming out saying, yeah, I bought 500 million or 700 million worth of Bitcoin, right? Guess what? That's chump change compared to Grayscale. Cheers. So, just this morning, I think this morning, or maybe yesterday, Grayscale, they had a chart open. Now, this is from earlier today, so this could be way different tomorrow, right? So, I think this morning I showed one of these charts, and it said 10.9, okay? So, since yesterday to today, Grayscale alone added $600 million day to day. That's how much institutions are FOMOing in. Now, these institutions are probably not nearly as big as some of these other ones I've been talking about, but still, you got a collective group of insanely wealthy people, right? Could be just credit investors, institutions, smaller institutions, could be family offices, it could be whatever, right? They're pouring their money into it. So Grayscale Bitcoin Trust has increased by $600 million within a single day. $600 million in a single day. Remember the headlines before where, Grayscale added $200 million in a week, right? It's all-time high, $200 million a week, or like $100 million in a week. Now we're talking about Grayscale adding $600 million in a single day. Imagine when FOMO really starts, how much they're going to add. This will soon be $1 billion per day, $1.5 billion a day, $2 billion a day, right? This is only going to increase. That's why I say by the end of this week, by Sunday, You know, I mean, it's still early because today is only Wednesday, right? So I'm thinking today's Thursday already. So who knows? It could be 25,000 by Friday. The way it's going. Tomorrow, if this keeps going, tomorrow Bitcoin could be at realistically 23.5, 24, and Friday could be 25 plus. And this weekend could go even beyond that, right? So I'm going to overshoot a little bit on purpose because who knows at this point? I mean, these numbers get bigger and bigger because you got to realize Bitcoin is at 22,000. So even a 4% move, 5% move, we're talking about thousands now, not a few hundred. So just small moves equal a large amount, right? So it could definitely happen. Definitely happen. All right, this stream, I didn't have that much material, but I'm so passionate about Bitcoin. As you can see, it's like this is a pretty good session and pretty long too. It's 25 minutes already. I did not mean to go this long. Bitcoin Treasury, right? They have not updated this, but this list continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Rougher was added. This other one, One River, has not been added yet, but there's going to be more. As they come out, this is going to only increase, and this list is just going to be nutty. Really nutty, okay? It's just going to be like way nutty. Like Square's investment, you know, that 50 million investment looks like chump change now compared to some of these guys. So I'm expecting Square to announce they're going to make a bigger, bigger investment, and possibly PayPal will follow, right? If you look at, those of you guys that are in stocks, PayPal and Square had a phenomenal day today, and so did MicroStrategy, right? So as Bitcoin climbs higher, all these companies, public trade companies that are publicly, they have publicly announced that they have involvement with Bitcoin, they're all going to go skyrocketing. So it's only going to help them. Just FYI, hint, hint. All right, so last few things. How many Bitcoins are there? This doesn't change very often or fast, but I've been saying this for a while. Just start thinking about it this way. Start thinking about this way. So people always ask, how many Bitcoins are there left? The best way to think about it is 0, okay? The reason being, all these big institutions are buying so much Bitcoins every single day now. They're buying way more than what is being produced. There's 900 Bitcoins produced per day, and that will be divided in half, 450 in another 4 years, okay, in 2024. And then it's going to divide down to 225 and so forth, right? But right now it's at 900. That's not very many, okay? So out of the 2.4 remaining left to be mined, this is all spoken for already. These guys are buying so much. We're talking about multiplier of 5, 6, 10x in terms of how much Bitcoin is being bought per day. Let's just do a quick math here. I just want to do it. Unfortunately, you guys can't see, but let's just do 600 million. That's how much Grayscale added per day, right? Let's just divide that by 20,000. You know what that equates to? Do 600 million, divide by 20,000. You know how much Bitcoin that is? That's 30,000 Bitcoins. That's 30,000 Bitcoins bought just by Grayscale in one single day, and there's only 900 being produced per day. So how many days is that? 30,000 divided by 900. It would take 34 days for the miners to produce 30,000 Bitcoins, and that was bought in one freaking day by Grayscale. So the best way to think about it is, how many Bitcoins are left to be mined? It's 0, because every single one is already spoken for. So this is what I've been saying for a while. You don't want to have weak hands right now, right? Because what's happening is everything that's being bought and sold is basically within what's out there now, this 18.5 million. But it's actually less than that, because there's about 4 to 5 million that's already lost. So really it's about 13.5 million out there. So right now what's happening is the weak hands are selling and they're transferring their wealth to someone else that's smarter, and they're buying their Bitcoins, right? So you don't want to transfer your wealth, because it's going to be that much harder for you to get it back. That is how it is now. It's always been like that, but people didn't want to hear it, but that's the way it is. Now you could see it, right? You can clearly see it. When a company like Grayscale and their clients are buying 30,000 Bitcoin a day, that's just one company, okay? You could see it, right? You could see the writing on the wall. The supply can't meet the demand. There's no way supply can meet the demand, right? So the name of the game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin. You want to follow the big players. You want to follow the big money, the smart money. You want to do what they're doing, right? Those of you guys that's been in it since 2017 or even earlier 2013, you've been accumulating, you've been holding. Well, you're reaping the profits right now, right? A lot of you guys are Bitcoin millionaires now. If you're not, you're 100,000-aires, right? And you're getting to be a millionaire. So you've been doing it right, because now, think about it. Right now, it costs you $22,000 roughly to buy a single Bitcoin. When I was streaming this show, when Bitcoin was at 8,000 or 10,000, it was expensive, but it's a whole lot cheaper than $22,000, right? $22,000 could have bought you 2.2 Bitcoins at 10,000, and we were there not too long ago, and now it costs you $22,000 to buy a single Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin goes to 40,000, it's going to cost you $40,000 for one Bitcoin. And then it goes on and on and on, right? So it's going to be ever increasing in terms of how should I say it? The cost is going to be ever increasing from this point on, right? We might have small dips here and there, but when you have companies buying 30,000 Bitcoins per day, it's very unlikely to see any significant drops from now on. So now the name of the game is whoever has the strongest hands wins. That's basically it. The strongest hands wins. The survival of the fittest in terms of who can hold the longest. And the ones that hold the longest are making the most money. Simple as that. Simple as that. I found this. So this is hard to see or to experience. Hopefully none of you guys experience this. This reporter spent approximately 10 Bitcoins, worth 1,000 at a time, over sushi in 2013, which is ridiculous already. Why would you be paying $1,000 for sushi? I mean, that's just ridiculous right off the bat, okay? You did not have to spend it, so she willfully spent that much to just get rid of Bitcoin. And according to her, it was just an experiment, right? She wanted to see who can take Bitcoins, whatever. But yeah, that dinner, that $1,000 dinner, has now cost her $222,000. So yeah. So I won't be spending my Bitcoins anytime soon. I'll just put it that way. I don't want one of these stories. I don't want to be able to tell my kids or my grandkids, like, yeah, I spent this amount to buy dinner or whatever, and it costs me this much. I don't want to share that story. So, but yeah, it's painful to see. And, someone left in my comment today in one of my videos saying, you know what, George, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say this exactly, but I think I know what he's feeling. He's like, yeah, I feel kind of stupid because I put a small amount into silver in 2013, and I thought it was a great move. Had I put that into Bitcoin, it'll be worth $100,000. And the kicker is that silver is actually worth less now than in 2013. So that's like getting kicked in the balls twice, okay? Not only did you lose out on the Bitcoin gains, you lost out on USD. With inflation calculated, you really lost out. I mean, that's how bad it is. So yeah, that might be like kicked in the balls 3 times. But I feel for you. And this is one of the reasons why all these hedge funds and investment companies are now turning to Bitcoin, because they see the same thing in gold. They're like, what? I have so much money in gold already, and it just never moves. Why do I have so much money in gold? It doesn't make any sense when I could be betting on the fastest horse in the race, according to Paul George Jones, and that's Bitcoin. So let me start diverting some of my money from gold, and let's put it into Bitcoin, which has worked out really, really well for all these companies that have been doing it for the past few months. They have all gained hundreds of millions of dollars. So why not follow in their footsteps, right? And this is like an avalanche. It just goes snowball, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until we're all living in a citadel high up and looking down on everyone. Yeah, just to show you, MicroStrategies, right? MicroStrategy, they just raised $650 million. They didn't buy Bitcoin yet. I don't think so. That's still coming. But their $475 million purchase, right? What does that equate to? Almost $900 million. They almost doubled. So within 3 months, they basically doubled their reserve currency. They gained almost $450 million, right? That's just within 3 months. That's 3 months. What about everyone else? Even rougher investment, they made their purchase $745 million within a month and a half. They're up, a cool $240 million already, right? All these guys are looking like geniuses. So, yeah. Someone mentioned about Peter Schiff. So I was looking at Peter Schiff's Twitter. I'm waiting for him to make a comment about Bitcoin. And I'm going to refresh because there's nothing about Bitcoin yet. And if you read through the comments, everyone is like, why are you not tweeting about Bitcoin? Why are you wrong like this? Like, he's not tweeting about it. But someone said he listened to his podcast recently and he admitted he was wrong. And, here's the thing. People have been telling him. Pabliano has been debating Schiff, since the beginning of time. And he just refuses to listen. Same thing with Max Kaiser and everyone else, and he's going to miss out on the boat again. He talked about how he missed out on being a billionaire because he heard about Bitcoin in 2012. He could have just diverted just 10%, 5% of his gold into Bitcoin at 2012. And you know what? That would have made him a billionaire. But instead, he held on to that gold, and that gold has not appreciated at all. He was touting that gold was going to 5,000 in 2012 and 2013. It never did. It never went above 1,800. So this whole time, right, it has not gone anywhere, and he missed out on being a billionaire, right? So even recently, when Bitcoin fell down to 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 12,000, 14,000, he had his chance to, again, divert some of his holdings into Bitcoin. But again, due to his ego and arrogance, he said no. And now he's going to miss out once again. But here's the kicker. He did admit that his son started buying Bitcoin, right? And here's the irony. I don't know how much Bitcoins that his son bought. The irony is, as Bitcoin appreciates, his son may become richer than his dad due to Bitcoin. And that would be the ultimate irony. And it'll be really funny if his son comes out and becomes like a big, well-known Bitcoin bug and a well-known spokesperson for Bitcoin. Just imagine how Peter would feel then. Yeah. Okay, lastly, has nothing to do with Bitcoin, but CME Group, which already has Bitcoin futures, they are ready to launch Ethereum futures pending regulatory approval. So this could come right around the corner. I mean, I know people don't like futures, right? I don't either. It's paper, like trading paper crypto. And Bitcoin futures popped a bubble in 2017. And there's been all these future gaps that people have been talking about here and there. What happened to future gaps? No one cares anymore, right? That's always been a phenomenon. I never believed in it, but you know what? Somehow it always came true. But they're ready to launch Ethereum futures. So I don't know if this is actually a good thing or not for Ethereum, because Wall Street could try to use this to manipulate Ethereum price. Keep in mind, right now, it's as more and more money goes into Bitcoin, it becomes harder and harder and harder to manipulate because the dollar amount is ever increasing. Ethereum is not that high yet. So maybe this is their way of moving to something else to manipulate. I don't know. But looking at this, CMC market cap is at 624 billion, almost 625. Keep in mind, we were like 850-ish in 2017, right? So even though Bitcoin has surpassed and made an all-time high, altcoins have not. They're still trying to catch up. So whenever Bitcoin stalls a little bit, I do anticipate a huge altcoin rally. A lot of them have been moving well, surprising, like Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, and even Ethereum. They've been somewhat holding their ground against Bitcoin, right? But a lot of the mid caps, small caps didn't get the same love. But I do anticipate when Bitcoin, kind of stalls a little bit, consolidates wherever that is, could be right around here, around 22,000, could be at 25,000. It's anyone's guess right now because there's no supports or resistances to draw because we're in unknown territory. But when that happens, altcoins will kind of catch up. But as you can see, there's still a lot of room to grow, right? A lot of room to grow. So that's very, very positive. And what's positive is, despite the fact that Bitcoin is around $22,000 with a $400 million market cap, which actually makes Bitcoin the largest bank in the world, that surpasses JP Morgan's market cap. Bitcoin is the largest bank in the world, I believe, unless there's a larger bank than JP Morgan. But with that said, there's still so much room to grow. Gold has a $9 trillion market cap. $9 trillion. Okay? So Bitcoin is not even 1/10 of that. So Bitcoin has to more than double to equal 1/10 of gold. So that's the beauty. With Bitcoin being this high, it's still not 1/10. It's not even 1/5 of gold in terms of total market cap. So realize that how much more that Bitcoin could go up, how much money that's going to be flowing in from gold. That's just going to be so much. There's going to be so much money flowing into Bitcoin from gold, and so much money flowing in from all these hedge funds and investment companies. I mean, it's wild. It's wild. I haven't let you guys talk for a while, so let me turn to the Q&A. And while I do that, I will bring up my chart that projects Bitcoin to 300,000, but that might be outdated now since Guggenheim is saying $400,000. Low roller. Retail investor, they probably will, but FOMO didn't start yet with them. So that's the thing. That's also the beauty. Everything I've talked about in terms of FOMO is all from institutions right now, because they don't want to miss out, right? They're doing it for different reasons than retail investors. But retail investors, they're kind of starting to catch up, right? But I do believe you have a point, because retail investors, when they come into Coinbase or whatever, Gemini, PayPal, and they're going to see, oh, Bitcoin is at 22,000 or 25,000 or 40,000. It's too expensive. Let me buy something cheaper. But that's the mistake. At least I think so, because you could buy fractions of the Bitcoin, right? You could buy up to 8 decimal points. So I still think you don't want to give up on altcoins, but I realize the psychology behind that. People like to buy in whole figures. They don't want to say I own 0.1 Bitcoin. They want to hear like, oh, I own 1,000 XRP, something like that. But that doesn't mean that it does better. But I know I hear that all the time. But anyways, Donnie Lee, thank you for that. I have 4 BTC. Do you think I would become a millionaire this cycle? Well, 4 BTC gives you roughly, it's not 100,000 yet, a little bit lower than 100,000. So if it goes up, what does it need to go up by? It needs to go up 10x from here. Possibly. If Bitcoin goes to 200,000, you'll be a millionaire. I mean, according to Guggenheim, it should be worth 400,000. So you could be banking $2 million by the end of the cycle, seeing how much FOMO is happening. Who knows? Let's see. So this is the last 4-year cycle, starting from 2013 all the way to 2017. And I've shown you guys this before, and I will show more of this going forward. So end of 2013, that's when I got involved with Bitcoin. I got suckered in. I was in IT then, and I'm like, man, you can basically create your own money tree, right, with a mining rig. So that's how I got in. But back then, Bitcoin mining already went to ASIC miner. So I got in with GPUs and I started doing Litecoin mining. So that's how I got in. But I got in at the tail end and it started going down, right? When I got in, Litecoin was at $40 then. And it started dropping. So I got out when it was like $8. I'm like, oh, that's enough. And then, you know what? Look at, Bitcoin went from 1,200 all the way down to about 160, right? And then it started kind of holding from there. And then guess what? The halving event happened, right? So the supply decreased, and then you started seeing it come back up. So it took approximately 940 days for it to get back up to 1,200. Then the new year started, and then that was finally 2017. So I skipped a few years there, but it's a 4-year cycle. So 3 years basically to get back to where it was. And then the last year it went parabolic, 1,500%. All right. So you look at this compared to this, it looks pretty similar, right? The only difference is we had this increase, this pump to 14,000 a little bit too quickly, right? That's why we went down. But imagine if this line, Spaceboy, I appreciate that. Imagine if Bitcoin didn't do that, didn't shoot up to 14,000 that quick, and just kept going, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. Then the chart would look almost identical to the last 4-year cycle. So the only difference is really this spike up to 14,000, which is a little bit quicker than last year's cycle. But outside of that, pretty much the same. So, of course, we hit 19.8, at the end of 2000 or mid of December of 2017. We came back down, approximately the same drop, 84% versus 86%, right? You could see very, very similar. So this was about 938 days to get back to previous highs. I anticipated it would be 1,100 days going to the end of the year, but honestly, no, we hit 20,000 earlier, right? So if you subtract this and go back, it's pretty close to this 930 days, a little bit more, but like let's just say roughly 1,100 days, right? So I drew this out back in January. I'm like, well, the path Bitcoin is going, it could do something like this, and then something like this toward the end of the year, and then boom, right? It'll follow that 1,500% gain. So in March, of course, no one anticipated COVID and pandemic, so Bitcoin did take a slight dump, but guess what? V-shaped recovery, just like the broader market, and then kept climbing, and look at where it is now. It's actually faster than what I anticipated, but that's okay. I don't think anyone cares that it's faster. So it is faster. We're not at the end of the year yet, right? But this is what I was saying all along is, I got to zoom out a little bit because it's too high. 1,500% from 20,000. Guess what? That puts Bitcoin at 300,000. So I've always said Bitcoin can reach 300,000 by the end of this 4-year cycle, right? Maybe it extends a little bit farther into 2022. Who cares? But, it was hard to hear. It was hard to hear when Bitcoin was at 6,000 and all of a sudden dropped to 3,000. Really hard to hear, right? It was easier to hear at 14,000, but then Bitcoin fell down to 3,800 again. So it was harder to hear once again, right? But now it's not harder to hear. Citibank said Bitcoin is going to go to 300,000. And now Guggenheim is saying it's going to go to 400,000. So this could definitely be a reality. Now, is it just going to go sky high like this without any, bumps? No. There's probably going to be situations like this where Bitcoin does go up and down and up and down. You don't realize it by looking at this, but these red candlesticks are very significant drops. We're talking about 30 to 50% drops along the way. That did happen. They're great buying opportunities, but you know what? Bitcoin carried forward. And I do anticipate in 2021, we're going to see the same thing. Bitcoin's going to start climbing higher and higher and higher, and we're going to see probably some volatility. We may see some 30, 40% drops. 50% drops, I don't think so, but we may see some. But ultimately, what's going to happen is it's going to keep going up because institutions are not going to stop buying. And while this is happening, retail investors will FOMO in. Retail investors will FOMO in hard. Very, very, very hard, right? Now, here's the thing. Now, we won't know until the end of 2021, possibly in 2022. All these previous 4-year cycles, Bitcoin topped out due to FOMO and came back down with a pretty significant drop. 86%, 84%. This time around, there might not be an 86% drop, right? Think about it. These institutions that keep buying more and more and more Bitcoin, they're not in it for a year. They're not in it for a gain like us. We're like, okay, I'm going to sell it at a top and time it before it craters again. They're not in it for that. They're in it to hedge against inflation. They're in it to protect their money from devaluation. So here's the thing. Here's the kicker. I drew this out because I'm like, okay, if Bitcoin goes to 300,000, the bubble bursts, it goes back down to 40,000. But the thing is, that might not happen anymore. That might not. Once it hits 300,000, it could just stay there and then continue forward. The 4-year cycle of going up and then down and then up again could be broken starting with this cycle. And because the institutions are buying so much, they're not going to be selling. They're not going to be selling in a year. Trust me. Like Mass Mutual, they're 100 million into Bitcoin. They're not going to be selling in a year. None of these hedge funds are going to be selling in a year because, quite honestly, these Bitcoin profits is going to make them look like geniuses to their investors. That's going to get an avalanche of new investors in. They're not going to be selling that. All these guys that are holding Bitcoin, I never said this before. This is the first time saying, but now that I'm thinking about it, you know what? This may just go out the window. I mean, honestly, Bitcoin goes to 300,000, it could just hold there. There's no reason to think that it will come down again because of the institutions getting involved. And this is the first time that institutions are getting involved. Institutions not get involved in 2017, nor these previous pumps in 2013 and also 2012. Institutions did not have any role in them at all. None whatsoever. Despite the fact there was rumors and stuff, none. There was no involvement from institutions. What we're seeing now is the start of involvement, and in 2021, it could be big involvement, and it could be very, very different. Very different in 2022. So, yeah. Almost 900 people watching. There is 900 people watching. Hopefully you guys have been listening to everything I've been saying, because I think I gave some good info here. But in case you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future streams. I do have a stream every 11 a.m. and I do put out segment videos. But since I'm doing this one so late, I'm probably not going to do one for tomorrow morning. But I will have a stream tomorrow at 11 a.m. And who knows? So tomorrow, when we all wake up, Bitcoin could be at like $23,000. I mean, the way things are going, that would not surprise me at all. Michael, appreciate it. Thank you. Low roller, don't worry about the flat earthers. They like to spread their FUD just like BCH and BSVers. Roger, you should sleep. There's no point of not sleeping. Just get some sleep. Bitcoin will do its thing. There's no need to worry. There's no need to worry at all. At this point, I feel zero stress. Previous months, I would feel like, yeah, maybe there's another drop coming, whatever. I'm like right now, like so what? Okay, even tomorrow we wake up, it drops back down to 20,000. So what? We were just at 20,000 yesterday, and you know what? It gives you another buying opportunity, right? Like right now, I have zero stress on Bitcoin because I truly believe there's just so much money flowing in, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop at all. Some of the biggest companies of Wall Street are now saying good things about Bitcoin. They're all buying in. They're being public about it. They're not hiding it anymore. And you know what? That is just going to cause more and more and more companies to get involved and ask about Bitcoin. I can't wait to see what Grayscale's numbers will be for tomorrow. I just got done saying they added 600 million within a single day. Tomorrow, when they release this, it could be, I don't know, another 600 million. It could be 800 million. It could be a billion tomorrow. You know, who knows? This is just insane, right? And who knows who else comes out tomorrow and makes a shocking prediction about Bitcoin, or another hedge fund coming out saying that, yeah, I bought some Bitcoin. You know, who knows? All I do know is it's very, very exciting right now. Very exciting times. So the weak hands are losing. I feel like the whales that tried to keep Bitcoin at 19.5, all these times where Bitcoin couldn't surpass 19.5, you know, on the grand scheme of things, if you look at the day chart, it wasn't really that long. But if you look at like the 4-hour chart, you know that so many times, you know, the whales try their hardest to keep Bitcoin at 19.5. And what ended up happening is they got wrecked. All their Bitcoins went straight to the institutions. Like you see here, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, right? And then no more. They probably ran out of Bitcoins. Ran out of leverage, and they said no mas because they got liquidated and they're done. So those whales are probably done. What do you say? There's zero chance of Charlie Lee dumping his Litecoin on the market? Well, you know, he can't say that because he already said he did that in 2017. He said he liquidated everything in 2017. But I want to know how he's running his foundation and marketing efforts with zero Litecoin on hand. So that blatantly is a lie, right? But he can't come out and say, oh, I'm selling it all again in 2020 because he's supposed to be having zero on hand. So, yeah, so I don't anticipate him saying that anytime soon. I'm glad you guys asked about XRP because there are some good news about XRP. I just picked up a clip today. It really shows you how far along XRP has come and where they're going, right? So I do have a clip, just like the clip I played at the beginning. I'm going to play this clip at the end. It's a good one. So if you're wondering about XRP and the future of XRP, wait until the end. All right. So I guess this is then. The stream has been about 60 minutes now. So I'm going to let you guys go. Bitcoin is definitely doing good, right? Went up another 1,000 points since this morning. Now you have Guggenheim saying that Bitcoin will go to 400,000, which is roughly 20x from here. And you have other hedge funds now openly saying that they bought Bitcoin. So this is not going to stop anytime soon. Anytime soon. And you know what? Tomorrow, when I have my live stream at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, this number could be at $23,000. That would not surprise me at all. But if this number went down, went back down to 21, and went back to 20, I would not care at all, right? This is just the beginning. There's so much more coming, right? In fact, I think I did a stream. Yes, I did a stream yesterday saying, should you buy Bitcoin right now? And at that point, Bitcoin was at 19.3 or 19.4, right? People were antsy, like, oh, there's going to be another doomsday drop coming, blah, 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 right? People are hesitant. Some people have weak hands, right? Well, look at it now, right? Not to say I told you so, but still, you guys got to realize everything I've been saying, everything I've been saying about these institutions and stuff, this is legit. This is not made up news. And when they get involved for the long haul. And this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, if you are wondering about XRP, I have a clip it's a good one. You don't want to miss this one. And hopefully it makes you feel more confident about XRP afterwards. All right, take a listen and have a good night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.